Say whatever you want about the UFC's matchmaking for 2025. If you love it or you hate it, or if you agree they've been fumbling here, or if you think they've been doing great here, whatever the fuck. In terms of their number one contendership fights, in my opinion, I feel like they've been kind of dropping the ball a bit lately, man. And today, in the form of a tier list of fucking course, we're going to be going through this for each division and going through some of the hypothetical number one contender fights that we could see. So some more deserved than others. We'll fucking get to it. So just starting off here, man, with Petr Yan versus Sean O'Malley. All right, I mean, you know I gotta put this in the S tier, okay? Yeah, you heard that right. I'm sorry, chat. I fumbled, okay? Unfortunately, this video was recorded a couple of days before Merab versus O'Malley 2 got confirmed, so apologies from Ghost of All the Smoke Future here, but we do talk in this video about a couple of hypothetical bantamweight title shots, so apologies. For multiple reasons, the first fight was a fucking banger. Jan's finally back, baby. He was 2-0 in 2024. O'Malley, you know, all he needs is one win. All he needs is one goddamn win to get himself back close to the title, man, and at least earn that shot. A lot of people are fucking upset about the hypothetical, you know, Merab versus O'Malley 2. Hey, Uncle Dana, you know, I'm very happy to receive big check. I will fight Sean O'Malley 2-time, 3-time, 4-time. I sound like fucking Dr. Seuss. Dr. Valishvili says he just whipped your ass. No, but Merab versus Sean 2, a lot of people are upset. They don't want to see it right now. They wanted to see Sean versus Corey or Sean versus Figgy, Sean versus Cejudo, some shit like that. Sean versus Umar, you know, a little bit of fucking Conor versus Khabib 2.0 type shit, but maybe we'll get that in the future one day. But at the end of the day, Merab is just beating so many guys in the upper echelon of the division where it's just like he's already beaten Yan as well. So at the end of the day, bantamweight's a bit jammed right now for Merab to get a new fresh contender, or at least even like make a Yan or O'Malley match a little bit more interesting, man. Like the first fight was a great scrap. It's very debatable, you know, on who won. Like I personally had it on Sean O'Malley. Like the thing is, Yan whooped him in the second round. He beat his ass. In the third round, I think, was pretty much Sean's round for the most part. But it's all on how you want to score that first round. Like, if you look at the fight as a whole, I can totally understand why most people have Yan winning the fight. Like, I'm not gonna fucking complain about it. I think it's a very, very close fight. I just think if we're going round by round, I think you could argue that Sean won the fucking fight. So I think there's a lot to be had. I think it could be a great co-main to a pay-per-view or something like that. Like, the stakes are high, and it would be able to attract a lot of viewers. And it gives Yan and O'Malley a way to just really cement earning a title shot, especially since they've already lost to Merab some more dominantly than others. You know what I mean? So moving on up next now to Justin Gaethje versus Ilia Topuria. Now, I'm going to put this in the B tier. Now, the thing is, maybe like a mid B, something like that. The thing is, Gaethje, I can get behind him being, you know, all entertainment, you know, Joe Rogan. Like, people forget, man, this guy's always going to be the BMF of the UFC. He brings it every time, man. He's a headbanger. Undefeated with the performance bonuses. He's a marauder. And then you have fucking Topuria, who is just, you could do so many things with him now that he's in the lightweight division. He's really shaking up the entire UFC, completely taking over featherweight and lightweight now. But Topuria, I just feel like you could do him versus Arman even, or Poirier. The Poirier fight would be a fucking banger. I've kind of been really wanting to see that. You could do Topuria versus Makhachev right away. Like, there's other things to do. Like, so I think that Topuria versus Gaethje, you know, you could give, if Gaethje somehow did get past Topuria, I feel like a title shot would be pretty fair at that point. But Topuria, I feel like kind of it'd be fair to give him a shot now, but I understand why Islam wants him to beat a lightweight. And you know what, Gaethje, it's a lightweight where, you know, he's been around the game a long fucking time. He hits fucking hard. You know what you're gonna get for a Gaethje scrap. He's gonna bring it, and you can get behind it. You know, he's got a little bit of something on the spectrum that he's gonna bring out for every single fight. But at the end of the day, you can count on Justin Gaethje bringing it every time. And against Topuria, I think it'd be a really fun fight. I just feel like it beats Topuria as like a minus 300 or something like that. And I feel like, in my opinion, some of the best fights or the best buildups are the fights that are the hardest to call, or the most unpredictable. And I feel like there's more unpredictable matchups for Topuria to make, especially for, like, I mean, I feel like it'd be a nice lightweight debut for him. It is winnable for Gaethje, but I just feel like at this point in his career, both of their careers, I feel like it's more so a shift for Topuria. So it'd be a fine scrap. It'd be a really fun fight. You can get behind the build-up, but I feel like there's better things to do for Topuria here. But still good, if that makes sense. I don't fucking know. So moving on up next to Kai Kara France versus Manel Kape. This is assuming that we're not going to see Pantoja versus Kai Kara France. I know that we probably are, but at the end of the fucking day, man, people can imagine, all right? People forget, man. People can imagine. Let's start saying that we could have gotten KKF versus Kape. I'm going to put this in the A tier, man. And honestly, for flyweight standards, that's a fucking S, okay? Because this would be a full-fledged grudge match. You could really get behind the build-up. This could be a pay-per-view co-main, and it would be different fucking energy than a Kai Kara France versus a Steve Urseg. You know, nothing wrong with Urseg and nothing wrong with Kai Kara France, but at the end of the day, it's just like, you know, Kai Kara France like, oh, you know, I'm going to go out there and, you know, I'm going to do my best, you know, represent kickboxing. And then you have Steve Erceg, like, you know, I'm just gonna go in enemy territory, you know, I'm gonna do this for the Aussies, do this for the Kiwis. And it's just like, you know, that ended in a pretty sick knockout. Poor fucking Steve Erceg, the dominant gray as a flyweight. But at the end of the day, when you have as much animosity as Kape and Kai Kara-France do for as long as they do, it's already been a couple of years at this point, I feel like, or it already has been. So I feel like it's a fight where you could really put it as a pay-per-view co-main and it could fucking sell. People could get behind it. Not sell to maybe like the more general public, but if you're a casual or if you're a hardcore or whatever the fuck and you keep up with the fights a little bit, man, you know that this is a great fucking scrap. Like, both these guys are powerful fucking strikers, dynamic on the feet, especially for flyweight standards. These guys fucking have a lot of pop behind their shots. So I feel like it'd be a lot of shit talking in the build-up. This is something, believe it or not, man, like, you really want these flyweights on a fucking presser, okay? This isn't going to be a Moreno or a Royval, and nothing wrong with those guys, but at the end of the day, you're not really tuning into them for a lot of their mic work or shit talking. Kai Kara-France and Manel Kape, you know, they're going to fucking bring it on the mic, and Manel Kape would bring the heat out of Kai Kara-France. And in terms of the actual fight itself, not only does it make a lot of sense for the division and for both guys with their records right now and where they're at, winning or losing or whatever the fuck, with Pantoja just like needing a full-fledged contender right now. Kai Kara-France is coming off of a solid win. Manel Kape's got a couple fight good win streaks. So like, let's fucking put them against each other. They're gonna talk their shit. They're gonna fuck. It's good for the division at the end of the day, man. Like, it really is. It would escalate the division as a whole, having these guys be the ones that are duking it out for the title shot. And it would make the fight against Pantoja even bigger, instead of just getting Pantoja versus Kara-France and you kind of got to force the hype down it, you know, and kind of force that co-main spot. So I don't fucking know. So moving on up next now to Petr Yan versus Umar Nurmagomedov. Now I feel like I'm going to put this in like the low A tier. Now the reason I wouldn't put it higher, like, I feel like it'd be a really fucking fun fight. I just would like to see a little bit more out of Umar. Now, don't get me wrong, if Umar beats Yan, that's a fantastic fucking win. And now we're fucking talking, and he's really kind of starting, you know, a win over Sandhagen and a win over Sandhagen and Yan. Like, now you're fucking really starting to do a little bit, you know, and making it really fucking close against Merab. Like, I don't know. I want to see Umar kind of get after it and start to build up the resume a bit. Like, the reason why this fight can't really be an S or higher or whatever, like, a big reason for me is just I want to see Umar kind of fight a little bit more, even if it's just 2 fights, like, before we just give him another title shot. Like, he already kind of had a rushed route to the title shot anyways. You know, he was dominant as fucking. Again, he made it close against the champ. But Yan versus Umar, it'd be a great striking spectacle. Both of these guys are solidly well-rounded. More so Umar here, but at the end of the day, Yan can hold his own in all regards of the fight. So I feel like it'd be a great pace. It'd be a great fight, a great scrap. Both these guys got great fight IQ. They're gonna fucking bring it. Both are monsters on the feet. Dynamic, fun to watch. But at the end of the day, good cardio as well, so you can make this a fucking 5-rounder. But at the end of the fucking day, I just want to see a little bit more out of Umar. Like, Yan at that point, he would have 3 wins, and they're 3 fucking pretty good ones. So I feel like, I don't know, in terms of the actual fight, it would totally fucking deliver. So moving on up next now to Yuri Prochazka versus Carlos Ulberg. I'm gonna put this in like the B tier, man, somewhere maybe like in the middle here. Now at the end of the day, it's because I feel like I could put this fight lower, maybe like towards like a C or something, but I'm not going to, because I'm a huge Prochazka fan and I know what he brings to the fucking cage. Okay, I know that this guy is one of the most exciting fighters pound for pound of the entire roster, and he would bring the fire out of fucking Carlos Ulberg. Okay, Ulberg is a guy who I think he's skilled. I think he's a good fighter, solidly well-rounded, you know, very technical, patient, good camp behind him. But at the end of the day, and young prospect for the division, good person to kind of invest in. But at the end of the day, man, I don't think there's anything too crazy about the guy's skill set. Like, he's kind of good everywhere, but he's not really great anywhere specific. He's not really like standing out very crazy. Comparatively to other divisions prospects, he's kind of lackluster, but because it's light heavyweight, he's kind of like having a great run right now and kind of beating guys like Ozdemir and Blachowicz and shit. And even though these fights are pretty close and competitive, he's still beating them. So I don't know. Ulberg is a guy who, you know, good talent, but I don't think he's that exciting. I don't think he's got really that much personality or anything like that. He's kind of just there with a good camp behind him, and he's just going to keep rising the ranks. I don't think he's going to beat Big Ank or Pereira or even Prochazka, but I do think, you know, he has a good chance against a lot of the other division, even if it's going to be maybe a bit of a slow technical decision. At the end of the day, man, Ulberg is kind of leading the way, and I feel like Prochazka just brings the fucking fire every time, man. He makes it a fun fucking scrap no matter who it's with. Like, he's either getting a brutal finish over someone, or he's either getting brutally fucking finished by Pereira Pereira. Prochazka is just one of the safest bets for guaranteed fucking action for any fighter in the UFC. Out of the hundreds they fucking got. And Prochazka is fucking ranked number 2 in the world, former champion, and he's still putting on just banger after banger. He's still bringing the heat out of him, you know. We saw it against Rakic. We saw it against Hill, Teixeira. Those are some of the wars he's put on. We've seen sick finishes over Reyes, Ozdemir, shit like that. So Prochazka, man, versus Ulberg, I feel like it's in the B tier because I feel like it'd be a fun... I feel like Prochazka would make it a fun fight. He put on a really good high pace and pressure, and we're going to see if Ulberg's going to be able to hang and handle it. Where's his chin at against a guy with as much power as Prochazka? But I feel like if Ulberg was just a little bit more exciting inside and outside the cage, we could put this higher. But due to the state of the division and where Ulberg's at right now, I feel like mid B is pretty fair. So moving on, up next now to Oliveira versus Tsarukyan, the rematch. I'm going to put this in the B tier as well. Now the thing is, the first fight was a pretty fun fight. You know, some people had Oliveira winning it, and listen, I love Charles Oliveira, and I'm not very crazy about Tsarukyan, but at the end of the day, come the fuck on, guys, all right? Like, Tsarukyan won the damn fight, okay? Punching the fans and all, whatever the fuck, but at the end of the day, the first fight was pretty solid, but I don't think the rematch would have a crazy amount of hype, but I think it would still be very... easy to sell. Like, you could put this as a pay-per-view co-main or like some big slot or featured fight or whatever the fuck. I think making it a 5-rounder would be the right move here. I think that'd be a really interesting aspect to the fight. Like, because people said it was pretty close and because Oliveira was kind of picking it up in that 3rd round and almost had Tsarukyan. Like, I feel like it's one of those fights, kind of like a Yan and O'Malley, where it's like you don't have to make it a 5-rounder, but it would kind of make it a bit more interesting, especially considering how the first fight went. So I think there's better fights for Tsarukyan, and I think there's maybe some better fights for Oliveira, but at the end of the day, if we're really trying to figure out who the number 1 contender is, man, I mean, you could put in Tsarukyan or Oliveira for a title shot, say what you want about each of those individually, but I think I could see this fight realistically going down, and I think it'd be pretty fun again. I think Arman has a pretty good shot at taking another win, even if it is 5 rounds. Like, Oliveira is just, he's still looking great, entering like a patient, technical phase at this point of his career, but at the end of the day, I think Tsarukyan is just, he's got the momentum, he's kind of just the new guy and the new number 1 contender for the division. But I think it's still a fight that we easily could see. I think maybe like International Fight Week or some shit like that. Like, I don't know. It's a rematch that some people won't be crazy about, but some people will be, and I feel like it just makes a lot of sense at the end of the day. So, moving on, up next here to Sean Brady versus Khamzat Rakhmonov. Now, I'm going to put this one in the B tier. Now listen, I know I'm stacking up the B tier a little bit. Listen, it's one of those fights, man, where it's like, it's a good fight. I feel like we'd see some really high level grappling. We'd see some pretty fun exchanges in the clinch. Like, how is Khamzat's striking going to do? I think Khamzat's a guy who has pretty good striking and he's going to bring a pretty good pace on the feet, but Sean Brady, man, you know, he looked really improved on the feet against Leon Edwards. I think that was a big part of what was holding him back. That was a big kind of weakness in his arsenal, you know. We saw, like, if you're getting standing TKO by Bilal, I think that says a lot. But at the end of the day, it was one of the best things that could have fucking happened for his career, because now he's just made so many improvements. He's really dialed the fuck in. And I love that in MMA, you're allowed to have some fucking losses, all right? I love that. I think in boxing, it's crazy how one loss and people think you're fucked. That's not MMA, and I fucking love it. So Sean Brady, man, has made a great bounce back. And I think I was leaning towards Leon Edwards to fucking win that fight, and he completely went out there and proved me the fuck wrong. Like, I'm a pretty big, like, not big believer in Leon Edwards or anything like that. I'm not really crazy on the guy, but at the end of the day, I thought that he was going to go out there and piece up Brady and look defensively pretty good on the ground, but no, Brady just fucked him up from almost the start of the fight, or at least from the second round of the fight to the finish, man. Like, just to be able to submit Edwards like that and just, you know, only have one loss, and it's to the guy that's the champ right now. Like, Brady's on a fucking tear. Rakhmonov, I think his inactivity's really holding him back here, like only fighting like once the past 2 Decembers. It's kind of holding him back. I think if he was a little more active, he could have had the shot by now, or it could have just been a lot more deserved, to where he's not at the point where he still has to argue a title shot, like if he deserves it. But I think Brady versus Rakhmonov would be a really fun fight for the hardcores, but in terms of selling it, or in terms of just a really high pace back and forth, or a risk of a finish, I don't know. I think Brady's got some underrated finishing ability, and I think that Khamzat, obviously we all know that the one decision ever, and it's against fucking shut your mouth. I fucking took the boogeyman to a goddamn 48-47 against goddamn Ian Gary, which is going to be the highlight of his life now. But especially just looking where Khamzat's at right now and look where Brady's at right now, let's have guys who are on winning streaks and just really full-fledged number 1 contender fights. Let's fucking book it, man. Brady versus Rakhmonov. I'd be down to see it. Moving on now to Usman versus versus Buckley, another one for the welterweight division here, man. I'm putting this in the A tier, man. This is a fight where I feel like it'd be high-paced. Buckley's on a fucking tear right now and completely making a name for himself, you know, knows how to talk his shit, trying to get all the younks out of the goddamn rankings, brings a high pace, he has urgency to finish fights once it hits that third round and shit, and like, I can appreciate that. He's solidly well-rounded. I think he's one fight away from a title shot. Put him against JD, well, he can't fight JDM, but put him against Brady, put him against Shavkat, put him against fucking JDM, whatever the fuck, like, I think not only can he win these fights, but it'd be great scraps, but I think the Usman one just makes the most sense for Buckley, man. Like, put this as a fight night main event for Atlanta or Houston or some shit like that, or put it as a pay-per-view feature fight, whatever the fuck. I don't even know if Usman's ever going to fight again. I don't even know if he needs to necessarily. But if he's going to fight this year and if he's going to fight one more time, I think Buckley's the one to do it. I think it'd be a great fight. You could sell it. I think Usman would, I think Buckley would make Usman talk some fucking shit. Usman's pretty respectful for the most part with most guys unless they're chirping back. But if Buckley starts chirping, which I think he will, this is someone you could put it on a press conference or you could do a little face-off, and I think that these guys would get kind of heated with it, man. Like, they don't like to be fucking disrespected, you know? I think it'd be a really fun fight. It's winnable for Usman, but the more months that go by, and like we're at a year and a half at this point since his last fight, it looks further and further away from his chances of winning, but it is doable. You know, you got to put respect in the second best welterweight of all time. So I think this will be a great fucking fight. Hopefully we get to see it. I'm going to put it as A tier here. Moving on up next now to the heavyweight division, the big bad heavyweight division. I know this is everybody's fucking favorite the past couple of years, man, but I think one that could be realistic or what they could do, man, is Gane versus Jalen Almeida. Holy hell, dude. I mean, we don't even know what the fuck's going on with the title picture as it is or what's going on, but like, let's say Jones just fucking vacates and Tommy Boy needs an opponent. They need a number one contendership spot. They're not just going to give it to Gane right away. I think Gane versus Almeida makes sense, but listen, considering the state of the division, considering how Gane just came off a fucking robbery, considering Almeida is honestly starting to bring it back with the hype, but still it is Almeida at the end of the day, I'm going to put this as like a C, like a mid-C here, man. I don't know. It's a fight that could be pretty solid, but I feel like it would just be Almeida whooping Gane on the ground. Like, if Volkov is going down there, and don't get me wrong, I loved the improvements that I saw out of Volkov in the fight against Gane, the rematch. But at the end of the day, Volkov isn't like a crazy elite grappler, especially like compared to guys like Aspinall or Almeida for heavyweight standards. You know what I'm fucking saying? I love the improvements from Volkov, and he's solidly well-rounded for a heavyweight. Don't get me wrong. But at the end of the day, man, Gane against Almeida, I feel like, yeah, it makes sense, and yeah, Gane can piece him up, but Gane's not really flatlining motherfuckers and getting crazy knockouts. You know, he doesn't have the power of like a Curtis Blades. He's more of a volume striker, you know, pretty precise, moves like a fucking middleweight in there. I don't know. Yeah, this fight could make sense, but heavyweight's just pretty fucked up right now, and Gane got that robbery that just sits wrong with everybody, and Almeida, yeah, he's making a comeback in terms of the hype and getting a good winning streak again, but I don't know. I still don't think people are too crazy about him, and it's heavyweight at the end of the day, in the division, the disaster. I'm going to put it as like a C, bro. Mid or low C, I don't fucking know. Moving on up next now to another one here, Royval versus Kape. This is one that was originally booked, and fuck, man, it's one that could be booked again. If anything, it would make a little bit more sense now. Not that it didn't in the first place, it did, but I don't know, dude. This is going as well in C. It's just one of those fights, man, where it's just like Royval is just the Whitaker, the Holloway of the division, the Covington, whatever you want to say, the guy who seems like he just kind of is beating everybody except for the actual champion, which is very fucking unfortunate because Royval is really underrated, and I think he's going to beat a lot of the guys in the division. And then you have Kape, who has fucking flyweight star potential and is the only real big shit talker and is going to really bring the heat, a great fun striker to watch. I don't know, though, man. I just think this is a fight that's hard to get, like, excited for. As much as I can respect Royval, you know, and as much as I can get behind the hype of Kape, I think he brings it a lot, and I think he's really entertaining inside and outside the cage. I don't know, man. I just think, like, seeing how I felt about the fight the first time and, like, I don't know. It's a fight that you can get hyped for it the week of, but it's a fight that I feel like it's going to be kind of easily just out of your mind for the months leading up to it. It's just kind of there. I don't fucking know. Nothing wrong with either guy. It's just a matchup that's just very bizarre. You know, you could do Moreno versus Kape instead or some shit like that. But the fact that we saw this booked once, I could see them trying it again. I don't fucking know. I think Moreno versus Kape might be the move instead, but we'll see what they do. But this I'm going to put in like the C tier. Moving on up next now to, I know we're probably going to be getting Chimaev versus DDP next. So I think Imavov, I mean, they could do Imavov versus Chimaev in some other fucking world, but this is Uncle Dana's world. I don't think we're going to see that. So maybe we get like Imavov versus Baraujo. I have no fucking idea. But let's just say that we were to do Chimaev versus Imavov, okay? Because I don't know what they're going to do with Imavov next, or if Imavov is just going to wait it out and face the winner of DDP and Chimaev. I have no fucking idea, but I'm going to put Imavov versus Chimaev, like this hypothetical fight here. in like the B tier, I can get pretty amped for it because I think Imavov's a guy who is riding some hype right now, and I think that, especially after taking out a guy like Adesanya who has so much name value, and the fact that Chimaev is just, we all know that Chimaev, I think the inactivity really holds him back in terms of popularity and getting closer and closer to the belt and building a resume, but at the end of the day, he still is like a guy who has a lot of fucking fan base out behind him, and at the end of the day, it's a guy who you want to tune into his fights, whether you love him or you hate him, you know, I come in to kill everybody, you know. I think at the end of the day, he fucking brings such an exciting pace and pressure to the fight. A lot of interesting things because Chimaev, man, he's just a high-level finisher, a high-level grappler, one of the most dangerous grapplers we've ever seen in the UFC. And Imavov, man, has a good win streak right now, taking out a lot of the ranked middleweights, and especially, like I just said, beating Adesanya. Say whatever you want about Adesanya at this point in his career, I still think it's something. So I don't know. I think that Chimaev would be able to beat Imavov. I don't know how efficiently or how quickly. I think that Imavov will be able to make it pretty competitive. He's solidly well-rounded, you know, really showed off the power on the feet in his last fight, but at the end of the day, if you're not a hardcore or if you're not like a Super Saiyan casual, I don't know if it's going to be a crazy sell or a crazy fight to get invested in, but at the end of the day, it's a Chimaev fight, and Imavov deserves a big fight next, so I feel like I'm going to put this as like a low B, maybe like bottom of B, something like that. So moving on, up next to, and no, you're not tripping, for those of you like watching the video, not just listening to the audio, yes, I had to change outfits. It's actually a couple of days later. I actually finished editing the video, and now I'm going back and adding a couple of more matchups. I wasn't happy that I missed out on a couple of these that I'm about to mention, so still in the goddamn car, bro. Still in the Ben Askren mobile. So just moving on up next now to Sean O'Malley versus Umar Nurmagomedov. Dude, I was pissed that I missed this one, okay? Because O'Malley versus Umar is such a matchup where it's like we always kind of play around with the idea of Conor versus Khabib 2.0, and like on paper this would be a great matchup. I think that Umar's wrestling. We'll see how it fucking hangs with Sean's takedown defense. I feel like Umar will be able to efficiently get him down a lot, you know, but we're going to see if it's to the extent of Merab in terms of domination on the ground. Because Umar, man, primarily a striker, very fucking dynamic. He's quick, precise, really good kicks, and I feel like it'd be a really fun fight on the feet, and we're just going to have to see how much Sean's takedown defense is improved, because if he really can't hang with Merab on the ground, I really don't think he's going to be hanging too much with Umar on the ground, but we'll have to fucking see, man. Styles make fights, and it just depends on the fucking person, I guess. But so I'm going to put this in the A tier here. I feel like eventually this fight could go to an S when Umar gets more built up, or seeing how Sean's career goes, or if he can win the belt back or something like that, or if he continues to win. Who the fuck knows with Sean O'Malley? But I think on paper it's a really fun fight, and I'm not just trying to say that, oh, Sean is Conor and Umar is Khabib, because like honestly, Sean is pretty fucking different from Conor, and Umar's pretty fucking different from Khabib. But at the end of the day, the trope is still kind of there. You know, Umar's got Khabib in his corner, and Sean is kind of, well, is trying to be one of the biggest shit talkers in the UFC right now. Whether that's working or not, I'd say not. I'd say more so on the not side. But anyways, I feel like this would be a really great fight on paper. I feel like it could be moved up to S in a couple of years with the right build-up. But with the context that we have right now, if Sean was to have his next fight be Umar, and Umar's next fight was Sean, I'd put this in the A tier. It's a pretty good scrap. Moving on, up next now, what about Topuria versus Oliveira? Because this is a fight that's been talked about a lot lately, and I think this will be an S tier scrap. Like, it's not a fight where you're really going to tune into a ton of build-up, but at the end of the day, maybe we could fucking see it, because Topuria likes to talk his fucking shit. You want to talk about Sean O'Malley being one of the fucking biggest shit talkers in the UFC? Topuria has been lately, and it actually is fucking effective, and it's actually kind of fucking badass. It's not Sean just going, yeah, I'm going to go out there and piece the kid up. You know, me and Schmitty had a bit of a back and forth backstage, but mentally I'm in the clear, had a bit of satives, you know how I'm doing. Who gave me this mic, bro? But at the end of the day, Topuria is just someone who I feel like he would talk a bunch of shit to Oliveira, man. And I feel like Oliveira, he's going to be the nice guy that he is, you know, very humble, all the bullshit. But at the end of the day, I feel like it'd be a fight where you're tuning in to Topuria and Oliveira kind of maybe going back and forth on the mic. It would honestly more so just be Topuria talking a bunch of shit and Oliveira just kind of being respectful. But whatever, okay? It's still entertaining regardless. Oliveira is a massive fan favorite. Obviously, we know that Topuria is just a legend killer. He's going around killing all of our fan favorites. He's taking out the fucking Big Bad Max Holloway, Big Bad Volkanovski, and I know everybody's fan favorite, Bryce fucking Mitchell. So he's taking all of them out, and Charles Oliveira fits the trope next. So on paper, stylistically, this is an amazing fucking fight, dude. I mean, Topuria is just one of the most well-rounded fighters in the UFC. I mean, very crisp, powerful boxing. He's slick on the feet. He's quick, and it's just the way he finds all the right shots, and he has the power to do do it, it's incredible. And also the fact that he just has great grappling in his back pocket, willing to use it any time in the fight and against certain guys. It's just, Topuria is just so fucking there skill-wise. He's in his prime. It'd be a great lightweight debut for him. It's exactly what Makhachev wants him to fucking do. And for Oliveira, man, it's a fight that's gonna get him a title shot next. Like, he just needs kind of one more win, in my opinion. And I love Oliveira, but I'm just trying to be kind of realistic and unbiased here. But I think he needs one more to do it. And I think if you're getting back-to-back wins over Chandler, but then you're beating Topuria, I feel like that's a much bigger win. And like, a win streak's a win streak. So I feel like that'd be enough for Oliveira, who has such dangerous grappling. But, you know, at the end of the day, he did kind of get out-grappled by Makhachev. So there are kind of levels to it, even though Oliveira is very, very elite. Still an S-tier grappler. He's still dangerous as fuck. But I feel like at the end of the day, we're going to see how it does against Topuria's grappling, you know, because he kind of has been just kind of keeping it in the back pocket in his last couple of fights. You know, we see little glimpses, but you know what I'm saying. Little takedown against Holloway here and there. But at the end of the day, I feel like Topuria versus Oliveira would be an S-tier fucking scrap. I feel like you can get behind it with the build-up. I feel like Oliveira's a fan favorite. Topuria is a big heel. It'd be a great lightweight debut for him, and Oliveira, it makes sense for his point in his career. So I'd love to fucking see it. Moving on to the last one we got for this tier list, man. It's Brandon Moreno versus Manel Kape. I'm going to put this in the B tier. Maybe like an upper B tier here, man. Mid-B, whatever the fuck, because at the end of the day, I feel like this would be a great fight. I feel like it'd be a really fun fight back and forth on the feed. I feel like with where Kape's at and where Moreno's at, Moreno's coming off of 2 good wins. Kape's coming off of 2 good wins. Except, you know, Kape's kind of racking up the finishes a little bit here, you know, piecing motherfuckers up. Moreno's doing the same thing, except doing it across 5 rounds, 10 goddamn rounds, 15 goddamn rounds. So Moreno versus Kape, they're both on a couple of fight good win streaks. They're both kind of close to that number 1 contender spot. You got Royval in the mix as well. I feel like Moreno versus Kape would just be a better fight. You can kind of get more into the build-up. No disrespect to Royval, man, but I don't fucking know. I feel like this would be a great fight to play out on the feet. We're gonna have to see which one of these guys incorporates the takedowns here, but at the end of the day, it's a fight that makes sense rankings wise, and it's like Kape is a big fan favorite, Moreno's a big fan favorite. These are arguably the 2 most beloved flyweights there is, so let's fucking book them against each other. So at the end of the day, that is gonna be officially it now for the tier list here. So thank you guys so very much for making it this far into the video. I really fucking appreciate it. If you guys get home and get to 1,000 subscribers, I'd really appreciate it. But regardless, let me know what you think in the comments below. What do you think of these matchups? Who do you think's gonna win? Who do you think's gonna lose? Where do you think I'm right? Where do you think I'm wrong? Where would you re-rank shit? Which number 1 contender fights did I not mention? Just let me know what you think, your opinions in the comments below. I'd love to fucking hear. We're just here to talk some MMA. So appreciate you all a lot, man. All the smoke, MMA here. Sorry for being another video in the car. I'm sorry if this is fucking random here, but I'm doing what I can, y'all. I'm trying here. I'm sorry. So sorry for that, but appreciate y'all a lot. All the smoke here. I'll see you guys next time. Hope you guys have a fucking good one, boys.